Men in general judge more by the eyes than by the hands, for everyone can see but few can feel. You want the world to read your heart. It won't. It reads your signals, your timing, your leverage. The city you live in isn't made of stone, it's made of incentives. Pay attention to them, or they will make you pay. This is the first cold mercy. Results, not innocence, decide who eats and who apologizes. When you cry that things aren't fair, the map shrugs. Power is weather. It moves, it chills, it floods. You don't beg the storm to be kind, you trim your sails and learn the currents. Look around, work, love, family. Each is a small state with budgets, borders, and a fragile peace. Your boss weighs risk and reward, not virtue. Your partner measures safety and status, not poetry. Your relatives trade favors like factions in a senate. If you enter these courts with only feelings, you are a pilgrim with no gold. Enter with offers, boundaries, and credible penalties, and you become fluent. You stop asking to be understood and start making yourself legible. Clear terms, clear deadlines, clear consequences. At work, that means defining scope before you accept praise. At home, that means naming what respect looks like before the argument arrives. Legibility is not coldness, it is warm with walls. So you must study the streets. Who controls time? Who opens doors? Who can slow the bleeding when something fails? Map the choke points, calendars, budgets, narrative. In a meeting, power is the person who can end it. In a family, power is the person who can say no without exile. Adopt the lens of a steward, not a victim. Ask, what does this place reward? Where is respect manufactured? Then position yourself where value is minted, and make the withdrawal of your effort a credible cost. 2 clocks tick above you. One is virtù, disciplined initiative, the muscle to choose a course and hold it under pressure. The other is Fortuna, the wild river, the election you didn't expect, the illness, the sudden rumor. You do not command the river. You command the banks you build, the oars you train with, the crew that rows when you cough. Virtù is your craft, your rehearsal, your logistics set before the battle is announced. It is waking up early to draft statements before scandal, saving money when applause tempts you to spend, practicing hard conversations when peace makes you lazy. Fortuna will still throw stones, but you will be wearing a helmet. Do not waste prayers on luck. Spend them on drills. Build redundancies like a careful prince, a second income stream, a written code for conflict, a reserve of silence you spend when anger bites your tongue. When the rain comes, and it will, others shout at the clouds, you check the knots, move the cargo, and signal your crew. Agency without fantasy. You cannot choose the storm, but you can choose the harbor. Now face the gate. Appearances govern access. People do not see your essence. They rent a story about you and pay with attention, credit, and trust. Provide the right story. Make reliability your costume. Wear punctuality like armor. Keep your promises like a banker guards vaults. In interviews, on first dates, in family debates, stop trying to be transparent. Be legible. Legibility is a map others can navigate. This is what I do. This is what I won't do. This is how I respond when you violate the terms. This is not vanity, it is duty. Imagecraft protects your time and the people who depend on you. A clean reputation moves faster than you do, preparing rooms you have not entered. A stained one drags chains you did not intend to wear. Curate the signals. A neat calendar, quiet social media, measured words when provoked. Let whispers find nothing to grip. Let results speak first, and when you must speak, use a few words and clear offers. You are not hiding, you are governing. You wanted a kinder world. Govern your piece of it until kindness can live there. Hold the line when storms test the gates. Your intentions are private, your outcomes are public. Build accordingly. Be precise, be prepared, be legible. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. You were taught the opposite. You were told that pure honesty wins trust, that love conquers every fracture, that good work will speak for itself if you just wait. These lines feel like warm blankets. They also make you easy to use. A world built on incentives is not moved by innocence. It is moved by risk, timing, and consequence. If you treat power like a fairy tale, you will hand your life to people who treat it like a contract. This is not cynicism. It is first aid. You cannot protect what you refuse to measure or defend. The transparency trap begins with a moral dare. If you have nothing to hide, show everything. You obey. You lay out your calendar, your doubts, your debts, and your feelings. The other party smiles and starts computing. Total openness disarms you while arming them. In a job interview, you confess that you struggle to say no, hoping to seem authentic. The role quietly expands while the pay does not. On a first date, you unload your history by dessert. The other person learns which buttons to press when they want control. With a new manager, you reveal every fear. The next day, your access is narrowed for your own good. Radical honesty becomes a surveillance tool placed in friendly hands. Offer clarity, not exposure. Clarity is a contract. Simple terms, clean timelines, verifiable facts. It tells the other side what they can rely on and what they cannot touch. You can be honest about goals and limits while keeping your private life, your long-term options, and your emotional triggers off the table. Practically, it sounds like this. Here is the scope I will deliver. Here are the review points. And here is what happens if the deadline slips. I enjoy seeing you on weekends. Weekdays are for work and rest. I do not discuss family details at the office. Here is the information relevant to the project. This is surgical sincerity. It removes fog without stripping your armor. The manipulator loses oxygen because you refuse to give them your diary. The fair player relaxes because your rules are visible. Both learn the same lesson. Your transparency is designed, not demanded. Now look at loyalty without leverage. You believe loyalty is a blanket you give and never take back. In practice, blind loyalty decays into contempt. People respect what costs you something to provide and what costs them something to lose. When your availability is total, your value feels cheap. When your forgiveness is automatic, your dignity looks disposable. A team that knows you will cover their misses forever stops improving. A friend who knows you will always pick up the tab stops bringing a wallet. A partner who sees that every boundary redraws itself around their moods begins to treat your care as background noise. Affection that ignores incentives rots. Respect rides on value and credible penalties. Keep loyalty alive by anchoring it in standards and consequence. Value means you bring results others rely on. Revenue, stability, skill under pressure. Penalties mean there is a real cost when terms are broken. Reduced access, delayed support, a formal exit. In business, that looks like service-level agreements with refunds tied to missed metrics and price increases tied to scope changes. In friendships, it looks like fewer favors for chronic lateness and a quiet no to takers who never reciprocate. In the family, it looks like ending a shouting match by leaving the room and returning only when respect is restored. The point is not cruelty. The point is a clear signal that your time, attention, and peace are not free resources. When the exit is real, the choice to stay has meaning. Loyalty becomes an exchange of risks and rewards. I risk for you because you risk for me. If the standard slips, we correct. If correction fails, we part with dignity. Contempt grows where there is no cost. Respect grows where effort and consequence meet. Finally, understand the reputation. It is a theater with real consequences. People decide who to fund, who to hire, who to love, by a story that travels faster than facts. If you do not write your part, you become a background extra in your own life. The stage is everywhere. Search results, hallway rumors, short calls, the way you close an email. Budgets and invitations move toward the person whose narrative feels strong and safe. She delivers under pressure. He resolves conflict in 2 emails. They are calm when the room burns. Optics decide who gets time, budget, and trust long before anyone reads your full file. You can hate that, or you can govern it. Control the narrative by designing the scenes. If you want to be trusted with hard problems, publish brief, clean postmortems that show method and learning. If you want senior access, be the one who closes loops, summarize meetings, assign owners, set dates, and follow up. If you want your relationship to be seen as stable, set visible rituals, shared calendars, weekly reviews, public courtesy under stress. Online, keep a focused profile that signals competence without desperation. Let results lead, and your words arrive like invoices, clear, specific, and few. In person, arrive early, dress like your responsibilities are real, and leave rooms with commitments documented. Optics are not a lie. They are evidence arranged, so truth can be seen. When a crisis hits, speak last and act first. Pause the panic, state the facts, define the next step, and execute. That single measured performance will do more for your reputation than a year of vague virtue. This is policy, not vanity. Your appearance is the security gate that keeps thieves out and welcomes allies in. It is the difference between a rumor and a record, between guesswork and trust. So dismantle the pillows that smother you. Radical honesty is useful when framed. Reckless honesty is a broadcast to scavengers. Love is powerful when bound. Lawless love becomes appetite with a halo. Good work does not speak for itself until you build the microphone, the stage, and the invitation list. Do not wait to be discovered. Choose to be understood. Then keep proving you are worth the understanding. Clarity over nakedness, leverage over pleading, policy over dreams. Your wounds write treaties behind your back. You think you negotiate with words, smiles, and reason. In truth, your old cuts bargain first. They whisper offers you never approved. Give me approval, and I will give you obedience. Give me attention, and I will drop my price. Skilled players hear this before you do. They bait you with praise, soften you with sympathy, and convert your guilt into free labor. While you chase warmth, they redraw the deal. This is how power behaves when it meets unguarded needs. Unless you govern the need, someone else governs you. The first leak is the approval addiction. Needing to be liked turns decisions into tribute. It starts with tiny concessions that feel polite. You turn no into maybe. You add work because the room looks disappointed. You apologize for speaking first, then for speaking at all. Each gesture seems harmless, but together they form a tax that drains time and authority. The fox in the office notices. "You're so reliable," he says, and stacks one quick favor onto another. The romantic manipulator notices. She compliments your empathy, then hands you the blame whenever she needs a shield. You think you are buying peace. You are renting your spine by the hour. Expose the wound by watching your body. When a face tightens, your chest tightens. When a voice rises, your spine folds. That fold is where they negotiate. Name it. I want the room's approval. Audit the price like a treasurer. Does this choice increase control of time, money, or reputation? If not, it is a bribe disguised as affection. Replace the reflex with a rule. Praise is dessert. not wages. Delay responses by 24 hours. Send decisions in writing with scope, deadline, and trade. Agency returns when applause stops being oxygen. The second leak is the mercy reflex without boundaries. You believe kindness must be constant to be pure, and so your care becomes a vending machine anyone can kick. Unpriced kindness is not virtue. It is a signal that the village is unguarded. Mercy is righteous only when chosen after order, not instead of order. The prince pardons once the law is secure. The household forgives once the rule is clear. The manager makes exceptions once the standard is known. Reverse this, and you teach others that chaos is cheap and your time is free. Price your favors and schedule your compassion. Decide when you are available for rescue and what qualifies as an emergency. Decide what repayment looks like: money, service, or a future favor, and record it. Without records, generosity rots into resentment. With records, generosity becomes policy. At work, the colleague who wants midnight help books an hour on Friday and trades an hour of her skill next week. In friendships, the one who forgets his wallet sees a cheerful payment request. In the family, your door is open on Sundays, not every hour you breathe. Enforcement must be calm. You do not justify or debate the price of your mercy. State the rule and keep it. These are my hours. Here is the form. Here is what happens if the deadline is missed. When violators plead, repeat the rule once and return to your work. Kindness without conditions breeds dependence and contempt. Conditioned kindness breeds dignity. Both parties know the cost and can choose. If someone refuses the terms, that is not your failure. It is their decision to exit a fair arrangement. The third leak is conflict avoidance, masquerading as morality. You call it peace, others call it clearance to advance. Each delay invites encroachment assumptions, entitlements, and new normals. Soon you negotiate from a ditch you dug by being reasonable. Peace is not the absence of noise. Peace is the presence of order. Order requires lines you defend. Face the dispute before the cement dries. Move from avoidance to disciplined confrontation protocol, not drama. Begin with facts. Our agreement was X, the delivery was Y. Define the cost and the correction. Because Y. I will do A instead of B until X returns. Set the clock. We will review this in 2 weeks. If it is still Y, I will exit the project. Then stop talking. Silence is a wall the other party must climb. If they choose correction, proceed. If they choose defiance, execute the exit. In daily life, disciplined confrontation looks like refusing gossip triangles. Telling a client that scope creep triggers a price increase. Ending an on and off situationship by stating the standard and the date. Declining quick favors that bypass the process. Publishing meeting notes with owners and dates so slippage cannot hide. It also looks like accepting that some ties will not survive clarity. If someone loves your softness more than your standards, choose the standard. Now gather the pattern. Approval addiction sells you for applause. Boundaryless mercy rents you by the hour. Conflict avoidance deeds your land to the loudest bidder. Together, these leaks proclaim that you prefer comfort over command. A skilled operator will keep you comfortable and take your command. Your task is not to become cruel. Your task is to become costly to misuse. That cost is built from rules, ledgers, clocks, and exits, boring instruments that make you uninteresting to predators and magnetic to serious allies. Draft a one-page constitution. Time: protected mornings, no meetings before 10. Money: invoices same day, late fees apply. Respect: no raised voices, the first ends the meeting. Privacy: personal history is not a work topic. Conflict: facts, correction, clock. Reciprocity: favors tracked and returned. Exit: when standards fail twice, Withdraw without drama. Post it where it matters, calendar, notebook, and in the tone of your replies. A constitution is not a speech. It is a tool you touch until it becomes reflex. Then train the militia. Small, repeatable drills that keep you steady under pressure. A weekly review to spot leaks. A no template you can send in 60 seconds. A 30-minute silence block after difficult exchanges so you do not backpedal into appeasement. A reserve fund so rent never holds you hostage. These moves are not glamorous, they are miniature. They turn you from a hungry petitioner into a quiet state that can feed itself. Close the gates, audit the terms, choose your mercies, speak your lines, then keep them. Let some doors close and do not chase them down the street. Not because you are cruel, but because you are responsible. When you do, something steady returns, self-respect. It does not roar, it governs. And the rooms you enter begin to change, because now they must negotiate with you, not with your wounds. Mercy with borders, loyalty with cost, peace with lines. The night teaches what the day denies. It happened, and you remember every frame. The message that changed tone, the meeting where smiles were painted on knives, the public silence that told you everything except mercy. You thought you had an agreement. In truth, you were in a mood. Treaties were vibrations, not clauses. And when the weather shifted, they dissolved like breath on glass. In the office, it looked like scope expanding without pay, because we all understand the mission. In love, it sounded like we're exclusive, but labels make it weird. In the family, it arrived as we're counting on you again, spoken as if your life were public property. You learned the price of vagueness. You pay in time, face, and sleep, until you have none left. Pain is not a scandal, it is a ledger. Tonight, you open it and write in ink. The first blow was not the betrayal, it was your surprise. You assumed affection would be police behavior. You assumed loyalty would reinforce memory. What police behavior is cost. What reinforces memory is law. When no law exists, appetite governs, and appetite is blind until punished. So the night broke you. Yes, but it also clarified you. You can no longer afford soft nouns. Trust, support, respect. You now ask for their verbs and metrics. What does support do? How is respect measured? Where are the penalties? You stop mistaking harmony for order and realize harmony is a dividend of order. The pain becomes data, the data becomes doctrine. At first, panic tried to run the palace. You felt the room shrinking and the breath closing. You wanted to explain, to plead, to reseduce the crowd with sincerity. Instead, you chose protocol over performance. Step 1. Pause. When the alarm in your blood rang, you did nothing visible. 30 minutes, then 60. You refused to feed the fire with frantic words. Step 2. Gather facts. Who said what? Which promises were written? What timestamps exist? You drew a map with dates and names where once you had only feelings. Step 3. Freeze concessions. No more favors. No more quick extensions. No late-night calls to soothe other people's chaos. The river rose. You closed the gates. Step 4. Shrink the battlefield. You identified the one issue that mattered: payment, exclusivity, access, and moved all debate onto that narrow bridge where it could be defended. Panic is a wide field. Protocol is a corridor with walls. Protocol turned a disaster into a procedure. In a project meltdown, you sent a 2-paragraph message. Facts, impact, remedies. We agreed to X by Y. We delivered Z. Therefore, the next step is A. If A fails by Friday, we move to B, and this function pauses until then. No anger, no autobiography, no confessions. In a relationship rupture, you replaced marathon arguments with one standard and a clock. We are either exclusive this month or we are not. If we are not, I exit cleanly. At home, you drafted a schedule and a rotation chart and allowed guilt to starve outside the door. The room did not cheer. It was reorganized. When noise met the outline, noise was lost. Still, you felt the heat of something you had locked away, your capacity for severity. You feared it because you believed severity meant cruelty. It does not. It means the lion obeys the law. A city without the lion is a festival. A city ruled by the lion is a prison. You will build a third thing, a city where the lion patrols the border but does not sit on the throne. You will admit the truth in you that can say no without apology, end a meeting in one sentence, raise a price when the scope swells, and walk away when terms are broken twice. This is not meanness. This is hygiene. Severity requires ceremony. You write a sanctions ladder and apply it without spectacle, hint, reminder, boundary, consequence, exit. You do not jump rungs. You do not add venom. You announce the next step and take it on time. When a colleague skips the process again, the privilege pauses for a week. When a client withholds payment, delivery stops until funds clear. When a partner mocks your limits, the conversation ends and resumes only when apology and change arrive together. Force remains leashed. It pulls only when law commands. Your future self, your ruler, thanks you for keeping blood off the streets by making the signs at the gates impossible to misread. The night of broken treaties left you humiliated. You can tell that story forever, or you can use it. Use it to encode clarity where chaos once felt romantic. We'll figure it out becomes, we'll review on the 15th. We're good, right? It becomes, here is the scope and the fee. You know I'd never hurt you. Becomes, here is what happens if the line is crossed. These are not threats, they are compasses. They point you away from storms you once called destiny. They also protect good people from your anger by preventing you from handing them unspoken rules and then punishing them for guessing wrong. Your image shifts inside you. You are not the hero who hugs the mob into morals. You are the steward who keeps the water clean and the bridges up. That is its own kind of love. Love for the work that needs structure. Love for the home that breathes in routine. Love for the relationship protected by clear gates where strangers cannot drift in. If anyone calls this cold, let them live with heat. You have tried heat. It burned through hours, savings, and self-respect. You prefer the steady warmth of a system that does not depend on moods to function. Take what remains of the night and write your first decree. No more vibe contracts. From now on, everything that matters has a clause, a review, a price, and an exit. Then the second, when a crisis hits, the calendar is the first tool, not the throat. And the third, severity will be proportionate and scheduled, never theatrical. You will not raise your voice. You will raise the standard and, if required, the invoice. You will not slam doors. You will close access and return the key only when terms are met. In this code, grief and anger become instruments. The broken pieces of identity form a mosaic that can govern. Morning is coming. You cannot erase what the night revealed, and you should not. It showed you that softness without structure invites wolves, that promises without penalties invite memory loss, that your own fear of being hard made you easy. Keep the lesson, build the town, post the laws, let some people leave. Their departure is a tax refund. Invite new allies who understand that strong gates make warm fires possible. When the next storm rolls over the walls, you will not beg the clouds, you will check the hinges, count the stores, and stand by the signal fire you planned months ago. The city will hold. So will you. Grief becomes law, law becomes peace. Good laws follow good arms. You wanted love to be the law. It isn't. Law is the frame that lets love survive. When a bond has no borders, appetites become kings. When borders are visible, affection can breathe without fear. So you stop treating relationships as moods and start treating them as treaties. Two parties, clear interests, red lines that actually bite, review cycles that keep memory honest, not a cage, but a border with gates that open and close on purpose. Begin with treaty thinking in everyday life. Identify the parties and write their interests aloud, not as poetry, but as terms. We both want trust, attraction, and progress. Define the resources that feed those aims: time, attention, money, privacy, reputation. Name your red lines in clean language. No public disrespect, no covert messages with X's, no financial surprises above a set amount, no silent treatment longer than a set hour. Set review cycles, a 30-minute check-in each Sunday, a quarterly audit of money, chores, and plans, an annual retreat to reset goals, state verification, shared calendars, receipts tracked, passwords not required, but patterns transparent. With friends, I'm glad to help you move. Book me 2 weeks ahead, and we trade hours next month. With family, I host on the first weekend, and you handle the second. This is not romance by spreadsheet. It is protection for romance. Borders keep thieves out, and let gardens grow. Then draft the enforcement that makes borders real. Treaties without teeth are lullabies. Set graduated responses so you never need to scream. Reminder, boundary, consequence, exit. Post them, then follow them. If the red line is crossed, the next rung triggers at once. No debates about tone, no courtroom dramatics. You make enforcement boring and predictable, so drama cannot feed. People learn that you are kind and calm, and that your calm is held up by steel. That mix is rare. It attracts the serious and exhausts the reckless. Now, virtù character in action becomes your currency. Charisma without discipline is debt. It spends today and mortgages tomorrow. Virtù is reliability under pressure, timing that turns small moves into decisive ones, restraint that wastes no shots. You build it like a craftsman. You arrive when you said you would. You reply with clarity, not clouds. You keep your phone off the table when you promise attention. You answer conflict with a short summary, a proposal, and a time box. You train on dull days so you don't improvise on crucial ones. Sleep, savings, fitness, silence. These are your arms. Your laws are written on top of them. Examples show the difference. In a project, a charismatic colleague sells a vision and misses deadlines. That is a charm as debt. You, with fewer fireworks, deliver on the date and add a one-page after-action report that captures lessons and next steps. Stakeholders stop gambling. They choose the quiet banker over the loud magician. In dating, someone floods you with intensity and vanishes when life asks for consistency. You remember your treaty and your red lines. You slow the pace, enforce the calls you agreed on, and let the absence prove the character. Reliability is dull only until you need it. Then it is gold. Your self-respect grows each time you honor the rule you wrote, while calm rather than the excuse you invent when tired. Restraint sits beside reliability and timing. Do not spend words you cannot enforce. Do not threaten exits you won't take. Do not flood messages to force closeness. Hold position. Let your silence carry the cost of crossing you. When you do speak, be precise. One issue, one remedy, one clock. This is how a small state survives among larger ones: clean borders, visible patrols, no idle parades. Finally, mercy after order. You were taught to be endlessly forgiving to prove you are good. That lesson made you a discount store for commitment. Kindness without enforcement invites abuse because it advertises free outcomes. Reverse the sequence. Build order first. Then open your hand. When the law is clear and the gate is secure, Mercy becomes a gift that holds shape. You can bend a rule once without dissolving the wall, because everyone knows the wall exists. Forgiving a first offense works when the second triggers a real cost. Covering a friend's crisis works when repayment is scheduled and remembered. Generosity blooms when it is not forced to replace structure. Practice this in small scenes. Your partner snaps in public. Order first. You end the outing, pause discussion, and schedule the talk for the morning. Mercy next. You forgive the spike, but you add a process if it happens again. The meal ends, and the day is rescheduled. A client pays late. Order first. Work pauses, and a late fee applies. Mercy next. Once cleared, you offer a loyalty discount on the next project if payments stay on time. A sibling calls only for bailouts. Order first. Support comes through a plan and small milestones, not fresh cash. Mercy next. You show up for the steps they complete. Here, no stops being guilty. It becomes stewardship. You are guarding the commons that love depends on. This is the reframe. It was never only love. It was always power, math, who pays, who decides, who corrects, who exits. When the math is hidden, love drowns in guesswork. When the math is honest, love stands on stone. You keep morality, but you engineer it. Clear terms, credible penalties, measurable value. The result is not cold. It is warm and durable. The garden stops getting trampled because the fence is real. The gate swings on oiled hinges, and both of you carry keys you know how to use. Write your treaty. Train your arms. Let kindness arrive after the order that protects it. Then watch what happens. The takers drift away. The builders lean in. You will be loved for your calm and feared for your standards. And the fear keeps the love clean. Borders for safety, law for mercy, love for life. He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command. You do not wait for an order. You write it. The night taught you where you leak. Morning asks you to govern, not grand speeches or heroic moods policy. You become the calm prince of a small but well-run state. Your mind, your home, your team, your alliances. The crown is invisible. The laws are not. You will make them visible, and you will enforce them without theater. Start with a constitution, your non-negotiables. 5 to 7 laws, written, short, and memorable. Time, protected mornings, no voluntary meetings before 10. Deep work first, favors later. Money, invoices the same day, retainers up front, late fees automatic, saving before showing. Respect, no raised voices, no public mockery. The first break ends the scene. Privacy. Your history is not a bargaining chip. Health and family topics by invitation only. Conflict. Facts first, proposal second, clock third. Reciprocity. Favors tracked and returned within 30 days. Exit. When the same standard fails twice, you withdraw cleanly. Post this code where it matters: the calendar, the notebook, the tone of your replies. Identity becomes law when it is written and repeated. Borders and militia give the Constitution teeth. Borders are entry points you guard: the calendar, the phone, the door, the inbox, the favor list. You stop letting strangers schedule your day through notifications. You set office hours for replies. You charge your phone in another room. You whitelist who can interrupt and when. You keep a waiting list for favors so later becomes visible and limited. The militia are habits that patrol without orders, regular sleep, lifting that builds a back worthy of pressure, work blocks that start without negotiation, silent walks to lower the temperature, breath work before you answer, hard messages. Patrols prevent fires because they make trouble expensive to start. Design makes discipline easier than disarray. Lay out clothes at night. Put weights by the door. Pre-book deep work sessions. Automate do not disturb. Keep a single capture list for tasks and clear it daily. Use mail rules to drop distractions into a reading pile you check once a week. Keep standard templates for no, for change orders, and for meeting notes with owners and dates. Your future self is a citizen of this state. Make the streets easy to patrol. Next, treasury and intelligence skills and information. A weak treasury sells policy for applause. You refuse to trade law for likes. Build reserves. A 3-month cash buffer at minimum. A skill stack that can earn in at least 2 ways. A portfolio of proof cases. Code, writing that travels without you. Keep your tools current and your credentials tidy with a quarterly maintenance day. Intelligence is your silent advantage. Listen more than you speak. Keep notes. Who keeps promises? Who arrives late? Which words calm? Which rooms? Maintain pattern logs after meetings, 3 bullet points, 60 seconds. When a colleague flatters too soon, you shorten cycles and require deposits. When a vendor dodges dates twice, you move them to a lower risk lane. Your money buys time, your notes buy judgment. Together, they keep you from negotiating with hope. Now the alliance matrix, the fox and the lion together. Classify allies by value and reliability. A tier, high value, high reliability. They get fast access, deeper trust, and your best effort. B tier, good value, uneven reliability. They receive clear scope and shorter cycles. C tier, low value, low reliability. They get courtesy and distance. Map reciprocity for each tier. What you give, what you expect, and how you respond to slippage. Write rules for introductions, shared resources, and crisis support. When stakes are high, pair the fox and the lion. First the map, then the teeth. Fox, clarify interests, test with small commitments, read signals. Lion, enforce the standard quietly when the test fails. This matrix prevents drama by design. It sets the room before the room sets you. You will feel colder when you first apply this. Good. Cold is the feel of clean steel. Soon, warmth returns in safer rooms. People who need you soft drift away. People who value order breathe easier. A well-run state attracts merchants and builders. Your life will too. Finally, sanctions and signals. Keep your hands clean by making responses automatic. Hint, reminder, boundary, consequence, exit. At hint, nudge privately. We agreed on X. At reminder, timestamp. As of today, Y remains open. At boundary, reduce exposure. Until Y is resolved, A is paused. As a consequence, apply the cost you published. Fees, reduced access, or a formal pause. At exit, withdraw politely, return keys, and archive the thread. No insults, no public scenes. Ceremony protects dignity when pressure rises. Your default signal is measured silence. Silence is not sulking. It is the absence of new promises while facts settle. You do not feed fires. You do not volunteer alibis. You let documents, clocks, and prior agreements speak. When escalation is required, you escalate only to enforce, not to vent. The goal is compliance or separation, not emotional victory. Emotions are brief, records are durable. Picture this in practice. A client demands just one more change outside scope. Hint, you point to the clause. Reminder, you quote the hours spent. Boundary, you freeze new work pending a change order. Consequence, a fee is applied and the delivery date moves. Exit, if unpaid, you hand off files and end the contract with a tidy summary. Another scene, your partner breaks a stated red line. Hint, restate the rule. Reminder, mark the date. Boundary, step back from certain privileges for a week. Consequence, pause the relationship for counseling and a written standard. Exit, if refused, end with a clear goodbye and no public postmortems. One more. A friend treats your time as infinite. Hint, book me 2 weeks ahead. Reminder, you missed the slot. Boundary, next slot is next month. Consequence, I can help for 1 hour at my rate. Exit, I'm not available for this request. Calm language. On time. No grudges. The policy carries the weight, so your voice doesn't have to. The blueprint is simple and ruthless only to disorder. The Constitution fixes identity as policy. Borders and militia make strength routine. Treasury and intelligence buy time and judgment. The alliance matrix decides who sits at your table and why. Sanctions and signals keep blood off the floor by turning feelings into steps. You become reliable to others and uninteresting to predators. That is power, not fireworks, but weather you can predict. Keep this code for 90 days and your state will feel different. Fewer emergencies, shorter arguments, more sleep, money with a plan, clearer friends. And when a storm arrives, you will feel the old fear knock and the new city answer. The fox will measure, the lion will wait on law. You will choose the proper door and walk through it without raising your voice. Calm law, strong gates, steady hands. The city is calm because you planned it that way. Peace is not a gift, it is construction. You pour it the way you pour concrete layers, pressure, cure time. When people praise your steady life, they are admiring scaffolds they cannot see. You built routine reviews so errors surface while they are still small. You defined roles so responsibility lands where it belongs. You practice swift corrections so a spark never becomes a blaze. Each week you walk the walls. Calendar audit, money check, promises verified, frictions logged. Each month you gather the stakeholders at work, at home, in the few alliances that matter, review outcomes, update rules, and archive decisions. This is how weather stays calm, not by hoping for gentle skies, but by maintaining the levees. In work, that system looks like stand-ups that end with names and dates, a single source of truth, and a rule that unfinished items move with a new deadline and a new owner, never with fog. In love, it looks like a Sunday meeting where you review money, plans, and gratitude, plus one hard thing spoken without penalty. In family, it looks like posted chores, shared calendars, and a quiet policy for apologies that arrive within 24 hours. You do not chase harmony, you design it. Storms still come. They simply find fewer openings. When a mistake appears, you correct quickly, record the lesson, and return to the root. Serenity is a system of small, timely fixes. Then comes grace within strength. Enforcement is not the end, it is the hinge. After you apply the standard, you reopen the gate. You let people earn their way back without kneeling. Trust is a bridge you lower for travelers who carry weight. When a colleague misses a step and pays the fee, you reset the count. When a friend returns a favor late but whole, you restore the usual access. When your partner slips and then shows change on the clock you set, you choose warmth again. This is not amnesia, it is controlled mercy. Clear laws first, generous gestures second. People learn that your yes is safe because your no is real. A warning, do not confuse grace with noise. Grace does not rewrite rules in secret. It does not erase logs. It does not pretend the break never happened. Grace marks the page, notes the repair, and moves on. Your hands stay steady because the page exists. You are free to be kind because the walls are strong. The paradox is simple. When consequences are real, tenderness no longer threatens stability. Now, the quiet crown. Power in a well-run city is almost invisible. No trumpets, no thrones dragged through the streets. Your crown is a clean calendar with white space where thought can breathe. It is a list of promises kept on time, not because you hustled at midnight, but because you planned at noon. It measures words that travel like tools, not like fireworks. You speak briefly, you write clearly, you let silence do the heavy lifting. People feel safer near you because your signals are consistent. The mood of a room shifts when you enter, not out of fear of your temper, but out of trust in your structure. Budgets move toward you, calm gathers around you, affection deepens because security has a shape. Picture the closing frame. Night rain taps the windows. Inside, the table is cleared, tomorrow's list is short, and your phone sleeps in another room. A message arrives with fresh chaos. It waits until morning because that is the law. Your breathing is even. Somewhere, opinions whirl like leaves in gutters. Here, the floors are dry. You will wake, walk the walls, and correct what needs correcting. The city will hold because you hold it with small, repeated acts that no one applauds, but everyone feels. Hope is not a mood. Hope is the predictability you build and the generosity you can afford once the gates are strong. Choose this. Choose reviews over rants, roles over rescues, clocks over cravings. Choose to reopen the gate when the toll is paid. Choose to wear the crown no one sees and keep the weather calm for those who must sleep beneath your walls. Engineered peace, merciful strength, quiet rule.